Did you know that there was a time in Holland where it was more expensive for you to give a tulip to your girlfriend or boyfriend than a house? Wait, what? Yes, that's right. With a few tulips you could buy all the houses on a street, and there was no public housing act or whatsoever. But how is this possible? So, if I planted and sold a few tulips, I could leave my job forever and travel the world? If so, take my money. Yes, well, maybe. It all depended on when you decided to do it. You could have become one of the richest people or lost everything. Now I will try to explain the background for you to get it. Spoiler alert! It turns out that this historical moment would later be known as the Tulip Bubble, and it would be the first time in history that the term bubble was used to describe one of these situations. The year is 1637, and I can almost certainly say that neither you nor I had yet been born. If you did, you may have shared your art class with Rembrandt in the Netherlands. The Netherlands were at the time a new country. They had just become independent from Spain after the 80 Years' War. An 80-year war? Are you kidding me, Netherlandians? Netherlanders? Oh, Dutch people. Did you still remember what you were fighting for? That is more than the time it took to build the Sagrada Familia in Spain. Wait, haven't they finished it yet? Well, back in Holland, after becoming independent in this 80-year blinking history, it became one of the most advanced societies in the world. They were the first to implement capitalism as we know it today, and the middle class skyrocketed. They also invented the world's first stock exchange. This was a place where shares of different companies could be bought and sold. Back into tulips, these were not a flower that existed in Europe. Rather, they came from Asia, from Turkey, that in those times was known as the Ottoman Empire. Over there it had a sacred meaning and was used by the sultans as an ornament. In Europe, since they were very scarce, they were used only in the imperial gardens in Vienna, where at the time a botanist called Carolus Clusius worked. Carolus was offered a position as master in botany at the Leiden University in Holland. When he accepted the job, he took some tulip bulbs with him, which caused great interest among the people. Wealth continued to grow in the country, and people showed their prosperity and economic level by buying iPhones and BMWs. There were none yet? So what did they buy? Well, they bought art, innovative products, and why not, exotic flowers. Although those flowers might have kept their value for longer than an iPhone, and I'm sure you could also find them in more colors. But what made tulips so special? What happens is that a tulip seed can take up to 10 years to sprout its first flower, and the seeds were really scarce. Well, probably not as scarce as water in Nevada. After blooming for a few years, tulips stopped doing so. Therefore, seeds must be sown again and wait another time for several years. There is another process by which the bulbs can be multiplied, and this makes it to take only a couple of years in sprouting a new flower. However, the demand was still very high and they could not keep up with it. On the other hand, tulips only bloom for a maximum of 120 days a year, more or less between March and May. During this time, they cannot be transplanted because they would die. In addition, the bulbs must be planted in autumn so that they can bloom during the following spring. This means that there are only 4 months between June and September to market the bulbs. Despite all of this, tulips were still relatively accessible. Everything changed when new varieties began to emerge, which instead of being single-colored, had different unique patterns that made them much more attractive. This class of tulips arose due to a virus that in English is known as the tulip-breaking virus. These strange tulips became an even stronger status symbol since only very rich people could have them. To create a tulip of this variety, it was only necessary to expose the bulb to the virus so that when the next flower grew, it had these distinctive patterns. However, people at the time did not know the causes, so there was no way to recreate them. In addition, their seeds produced completely healthy tulips. You could only get more striped tulips by cloning the bulbs, which was a process that can only give in the best case scenario a couple of replicas a year. Did someone say replicas? Said the Chinese. So, for example, if you wanted to buy one of these tulips, you had to wait for it to grow to realize that it had these characteristics, and since you could not move it in that time because you would kill it, you would have to wait for the dormant season where you can dry the bulb to sow it again in autumn. To ensure that the interested party could buy it at this season, he signed a document with the seller where he promised to deliver the bulb in exchange for a certain amount of money when the date arrived. This type of transaction was the forerunner of what we know today as the futures market. This is to agree on a price for a product that will be paid and delivered at a later date. So that buyers could see what they were buying, the best painters of the time were entrusted to make drawings and watercolors of the flowers that would be sold. These drawings would normally be attached to the contract of sale. The buyer could now transfer this contract to another person to generate a profit even before he had the flowers bought. The middle class saw the possibility of earning significant amounts of money buying and selling these tulip futures. The property titles for these flowers began to rise in price after each transaction, and there was a speculation about the new prices that could reach the highly priced flowers. What they did not foresee coming is that there was a maximum price that even the richest people were willing to pay. When tulips exceeded this price, purchases and sales were based solely on speculation, and an economic bubble was generated when this happened. This is, they were paying for a product more than it was worth, and it would only be a matter of time for people to realize the mistake that they had made. And the time came when nobody wanted to buy the tulips at the sale price. Some people began to realize that they were charging a fortune for a simple flower, and the uncertainty caused the people who had them to start selling them at lower and lower prices to recover at least a small part of their investment. This is why in February 1637 the price of a tulip went overnight from being worth as much as a house to being worth nothing, more or less as the Venezuelan Bolivar. The economy of the country took long to recover after this fall. However, today Holland is still the main producer of tulips in the world. Although the price will not be the same as before, they are still sold through auctions where executives of large transnational companies attend and subsequently export them to their countries. This was the first economic bubble in history, and in more recent times there have been others, such as the real estate market one in the United States, and many experts mention that cryptocurrencies are another example. By the way, if you do not know what a cryptocurrency is, do not forget to see our video about it. We will leave you the link in the description and at the end of this video. On the other hand, if you liked the video, help us keep our channel by subscribing to it and sharing it with your friends. Thank you very much for watching, and see you the next time.